This is all about that extending hip, being able to swing back and recoil and help you with your next foot forward. So we're going to start right in the heart of the hip flexors. We're going to start in some of the stiffest tissue on your body, which happens to be this hip flexor region right here at the upper thigh, just below the pelvis. I call this quad quench. For this, you'll want to have either a little stage with a couple of yoga blocks. You could even use your couple of half domes with the flat side up. You can do this with a pair of yoga tune-up balls, which is going to be the most intense position. I'm actually going to try the plus, which will be a little bit less intense. You can also potentially do this with 2 alphas. In fact, I think, Tim, why don't you give Stacy your second alpha? And she's not going to use the stage. So if you're using larger balls, you'll want to just lay face down with the balls as high up on the thigh as possible without them being in the pelvis. You place the balls on that little block stage and nuzzle them where the muscles of the quads transition to become tendons. And this is called the myotendinous junction. What's interesting about this place is we have a different set of sensory neurons in this region. We have Golgi tendon organs, which live in tendons, and we also have muscle spindles, which live in muscles. And so here we have kind of a blended state where both of those are on deck. And then we have other sensory neurons that are giving us feedback in this region. But probably the feedback you're having right now is, Jill, why did you ask me to touch this place? It's sensitive. It's a little stiff and sticky. And so the first thing we want to do is modulate that resistance to the pressure that the balls are offering. And actually, one thing I'm going to say first is if in this position, because this is a lot of extension for your lumbar spine, it's not illegal for your lumbar spine to extend. It does need to do that. But if it feels like, oh, this is compressing me, I might have some stenosis in here, guess what? You can support this area with the ball, and that will take that flexion out, and it'll also bring you into your guts in a really wonderful way. Or you can put a pillow there as well. So just like we've done before, you want to breathe as if your thighs were lungs. Take a deep breath in there, hold your breath, and then stretch through your knees. You're going to contract the quads. So you're activating the muscles that would extend your knees, and then exhale and let go. You can do that again. Breathe in, send your breath all the way through the gut, through the pelvis, hold your breath, extend your knees. You can keep your feet hanging on the floor, so I'm getting a little mild top of the foot stretch here, just out of convenience. And then exhale and let go. Shift slightly to the right so that you're nuzzling into a different pocket. So you'll be a little bit further out on the left, you'll be a little bit further in on the right. Take a deep breath in. Hold, contract, and exhale, let go. And then slide just that equivalent distance over to the right. So you have the balls tossing into that same little segment on the front of the upper thigh. You breathe in, hold your breath, activate, and exhale, let go. And so now what I'd like you to do is take the therapy balls really centimeter by centimeter through the front of this anterior thigh and go through your contract relax process. So you can do that simultaneously, like windshield wipers that swish in the same direction, or you can have opposing windshield wipers. It doesn't really matter. I just want you to be able to cover as much territory as you can, because what you have here is you have the onset of the rectus femoris, you have the vastus intermedius directly underneath that, to the inside, the medialis, to the outside, not only do you have the lateralis, but we also meet our sartorius, our tensor fasciae lata. And then also, as you transition a little bit medially, you also get the dip of the tendon of the iliacus and the psoas. So we get lots of tendons in this region. And your shiftiness here will also create a little plow effect as well. So you can probably feel some of the elastic pull of these high upper thigh tissues. So stiffness here is really uncomfortable when you're trying to get that leg behind you, or as you step forward with your with one foot, the other leg is getting left behind. And the more elasticity it has is the more recoil it will serve to take your next step forward. So people start taking very short strides when these tissues are extremely stiff and undermobilized. And so this is a way that you can get local mobility into every one of these anterior thigh muscles right here from having the ball touching right there. Now, in a minute, we're going to go lower than this. And once we go lower than this, we'll be out of the realm of the iliacus and the psoas. But depending on how you're angled right now, you're going to get that dive of the tendon, and we're going to meet the tendons directly through a couple of other moves in a minute. This just feels so good. And then you can also feel, okay, where do I have the most resistance? So if we're going centimeter by centimeter and with contract relax, you can feel, there is a lot more resistance. The ball is not allowing itself in towards my thigh, more on my left side or the outer left portion of the left thigh, and the right side, it's just like, I'm creating this wonderful warm smile, and you can feel differences. So that's important in terms of mapping and getting to know how you wear your body, how you wear your flesh, as Katie's been talking about.